It is raining like a motherfucker. Yesterday, I found my front license plate dangling on one screw for no reason. So I had to take it off before I lost it, and now I'm wondering when the rain's gonna stop, so I can be bothered to screw it back in. As long as I got the back plate, fine. But yeah, I am of course doing what I like to do from time to time, which is go live and have no idea what the hell I'm gonna say, which is this particular time. I've been decompressing from a lot of ways that I needed my schedule to operate, which has taken me offbeat on the Box Saga streams. So I'll be getting back to that in due time. I might do one tonight. I've asked a friend if he wants to go live later. It's a work night, so I'm not trying to do anything at like the early hours. And this guy likes to do stuff at like the early hours. You know, he will like I'll you know, like he doesn't live in like Europe. Hey, what's up, Bake Queen? And like he doesn't live in Europe or anything like that. It's just that like he gets up like an hour or two before the sun comes up or whatever, and then like he's spry, he's good to go, and he does things. He does his thing. I'm talking about Rock Castaldo over on the Exploring the Ka Space Water podcast, I think he calls it, right? You should check him out. He does a lot of stuff with science and he does a lot of like cosmic weather, cosmic physics, astrophysics, and finding scientific answers through mythological stories, bringing together certain tested and reported phenomena. And he's brought things together from all sorts of different peoples, especially he's got a professor who I can't remember how you pronounce his name, Chandra Raman Singh. I can say his name, I just don't remember. I have to hear it again because I'm very good with these kinds of names. I just literally, it would be like if you heard my name for the first time and you were like, it was Scardy or something, Scardy, you know, and then like, you know, you have no problem saying Purdy, but but you didn't hear it right? Like, that always bothers me, is like when I know how to fucking say a name, but I'm just asking because I didn't like hear it right, and then they don't bother fucking like trying to tell me the name again because you're not gonna be able to say it. It's just like, oh yes I will, motherfucker, just say it fucking again. I have a goddamn good tongue. Just say your fucking weird complicated word one more time and watch me fucking nail it. You want me to fucking struggle? Give me some fucking, like, language that doesn't have half the fucking sounds that we use. Then maybe. Like I've heard, like, the Navajo speaking in, you know, like, their native Dene language, and it's just like, I don't know if I can enunciate all of that. It's like, it's just like there's all this stressing where it feels like the way you speak, like the Navajo language, many of the Native American language, it's all very like right there, right? There's a lot of like the tongue is hard and stuff about it. Because of all those kinds of noises you have to make, there's a lot of friction in their noises, you know, like they have a completely different approach, I would say, to like consonants, which then shapes your vowels. Getting into the Box Saga took me a minute. Yeah. Oh yeah, it takes a minute to really perceive what is actually being told to you, as well as realizing the high utility of the alphabet in root language, and you know, that alphabet, that root language, if the Box Saga is true, even with what I just talked about right now, with like the Navajo and like all sorts of languages that are nowhere near as the Arctic person's language. There's something to be said about that. If you can find it, right? And and odds are you're gonna find something, and it's gonna have a significant parallel to something that, if it's not like the Box Saga, it's like something else that is like the Box Saga. That's the crazy thing about the Box Saga, is that, like, if you let it have the slow burn of trying to tell you what it's trying to tell you, if you allow yourself to take it in, comprehend, and work through the argument that it's making, you are going to find yourself seeing more and more and more of the truth in it, because that's certainly what I have found. I've found you know, the truth in it, right? I think that it's fair, that it's not accurate, because it still says it's a mythology, right? It's just like if you met like an old fucking white guy or whatever, and you know, somewhere, and like he just started telling you like stuff from the Voluspa or whatever, and he said like, well, my dad told me this story, my dad told me this, like, you would fucking argue with him. But you write it down somewhere, and you separate the man from the story, that serves in one manner of being a kind of inherent proof, but it fails in another, because the book can't talk back to you. If you don't understand what you've read on a page, you can't ask the book what it meant on that page. When you listen to somebody tell you the story of the Box Saga, somebody who's taken it, listened to it to themselves, took the tutelage to know it inherently, intuitively, instinctually, all the little angles, because he wasn't just a guy who just sat down and listened to it to navel gaze once. Now all of a sudden, you at least can get the short answer of just one piece of critical context you may need. to clarify what the hell you're is being talked about. Which happened when I asked Michelle on the Box Saga stream, which I had no idea if he was going to be listening or not. But he answered, and thus simplified a whole bunch of things by making them crystal clear. All right. Seeds of the ganja plant, aka the bud. Let's see, brave in regards to. Okay, yeah, I'll check out all that stuff. It's all good. So, I'm still stewing on precisely what I want to do, right? Because what I know that I want to do is that I want to start going through the remastered tape recording of Eeyore Bach himself telling an aspect of the Box Saga that's a couple hours long. And it's audio only. But I'm asking myself, do I want to just do, like... Because I don't think I really want to sit there and play Who in the Hell is Eeyore Bach for you, because... You know, it's to sit down and to listen to a guy, and like, it takes you a hot minute to like understand and appreciate the story of who Eeyore Bach is, to have the weight to carry the question of the validity of the saga. But I'll figure something out. I'll figure something out, because I feel like I do just want to lead in with something shorter first. Again, or whatnot, or just something, yeah, something shorter, but of more, I don't know, I might do Welcome to Hell. I haven't decided yet. I want to look and see, maybe there's something that I haven't heard yet that would be better served. Bear with me, people. No idea. Alright, forget it. No, okay, we're going the right way. Alright. Hey, Saniko. Happy Thanksgiving to you. You poor, wretched Canadian, you don't get the joy of this day. You don't get to have the glazed moose. I know, it's pure poison, sue me. So, I've determined on Sunday that I'm going to have Headless Giant on. You can see that I already set up the live stream for that. That's going to be really good, okay? Like, I mentioned it when I made the announcement, right? Going back to 2012, I was on the ufology kick, right? I was very interested in, specifically, Project Bluebeam, to the point where my original show on Revolution Radio was called Project Redbeat. I went by Travesty back then. I wasn't a Zeralath, I was a Travesty. I was Steve Travesty. And then somebody pointed out to me that maybe my life is a travesty because I called myself that. It's like, oh fuck, I think his logic is spot on. So, so I ended that as a name, which that name was there to serve as a demonstration because I was out there to talk about the travesty of fucking bullshit that people go through in this world. And you know, to be honest with you, all the stuff that I called myself a travesty about, I think all of it by and large, most of it by and large, if it's not gone, it's in the realm of people's free will choices now, as opposed to their uninformed choices before, or their forced choices, or lying about what proper consent is, right? You know, there's a whole lot less exploitation in schools, psychiatry, you know, in the military. Less. Still happening. Still happening. Especially if you're still at the height of foolishness. Right? But many a thing. Right? Because, like, I came out the box talking about X, Y, and Z things that were just... How is this not inherently, universally, comprehensively understood as evil and wrong, and at the very least destroying us and corrupting us as a whole? And then you get really fucking bitchy about, you know, us pointing out a personal choice that looks pretty fucking like suicidal, and then once you start fucking doing this thing coming from a place of genuine care, which is not trying to be dark care, which is what 2020 was, which is where somebody forces you to be cared for in a way that you do not want. Just like somebody can force their will upon you, someone can force their care upon you. And 2020 was what it was like for care to be forced upon you. Which then was proceeded in 2021 by every little fucking prick on the planet. See? With dark care comes small pricks. And I'm a big fucking prick. So get your shit off of me. But anyway, so then all of a sudden they introduce to you, like, didn't you know that some people have a cultural right to be evil? Or something like that is basically how it ends up getting fucking translated in your head, because they're taking your intention way out of proportion by you just bringing up the fucking obvious in concern. But that is the new definition of fucking tyranny for some people. And, it's like... Alright, so, you know, people like to defend Lucifer under the contexts of the Zeus-Prometheus relationship, right? What, you know, even though they're going to defend, even though some people are going to defend him on transhumanist arguments and defend him on transsexual arguments and such, what they're ultimately doing, especially when they're arguing with any moralist out there, you know, especially fundamentalists, but then that lumps somebody like me in the category for my sense of values and virtues in the place that they end up making sense to me in the manifest of my world. And, and the projection of reacting to my ideas as if I am attempting to put a fundamentalist world into action. That's where it bothers me even more, because there's very few groups out there that are having a conversation about Lucifer. That is not contextualizing it in the way that isn't about all of the weird shit, right? But at the same time, what people are doing is that they're fucking doing all sorts of shit in the name of the deity. However, first and foremost, he's not a deity. Theoretically, he's an anti-god, right? I'm really not sure in Greco-Roman mythology if there were sky gods, earth gods, and then anti-gods, or if it was just gods and anti-gods, which would then mean kind of they're lumped together, I suppose. Right? And the anti-gods, we're always looking for this healthy, internal self-positive, archetypal aspect of the anti-gods in the Jungian sense. And that's fine in thought experimentation, but when you're a practicing shaman, magus, occultist, or whatever, and now you are invoking the anti-gods, right? Or even if you're evoking them in your magic, as opposed to just talking about it, meditating on it, or whatever. Thought experiments. Hey, what's up, Brother Jim? The anti-gods are, they're a part of our mythos that is trying to explain, like, an evil that gets in, right? And we're acting like the only definition of evil that there is the things that we don't fear, we don't understand, that we think are creepy and uncomfortable, especially in a sexual sense. Thus, where the transsexual side of Lucifer, the Baphomet getting imprinted on Lucifer, which may or may not be a truth, comes into play. But the anti-gods are at best natural primordial forces, but they also are part of something from dark sorcery that was opened as basically a portal into this world. There's another level, because when some serious, horrific, interdimensional shit was stirred up by dark sorcerers, the manifestation of this evil on the planet had to weave new stories or new interpretations of stories into the mythos. As certain persons of influence took up acting as the anti-gods and working as a force in kind in the world, and thus was an actual person for the personification of gods and anti-gods in the play of the human factor of life. And then, of course, you have catastrophes being interpreted as certain actions of gods and anti-gods when it comes from the persons of the anti-gods perhaps playing with radical new natural sciences that stir the natural forces, and thus why there's an earthquake. Thus the mountain Jotun have gone to war with the gods. Stir up the forces of good. The mountain Jotuns are restless. Asgard and Midgard are threatened. Okay? Right? And we struggle to find out what these things are. And so that, like, Loki comes into play. We're trying to figure out, like, because we kind of pinned down, there's a dark trickster who earns our trust and then betrays it consistently. You're supposed to be, like, you're supposed to accept that because we don't have a full knowing of all things. That we have to accept that we could have a Loki in our midst, or a person might have a Loki tendency that will emerge. And our inner divinity is supposed to watch out for that and kick it the fuck out when it rears its ugly head. Right? You know? If I fucking start making fucking Presbyterian church style comments and arguments and things like that in a group for occultists, people are gonna look at me. I'm gonna be the Loki for being Mr. Righteous, when it's just like, oh my god, this guy's such a stiff with his goddamn fucking virtues. It's just like, no, we like the gays around here. We just don't like the fucking monsters that are doing this and that, right? Then, you know, because they want to have the nuance of it, you know? Now, granted, I'm not trying to make that argument for myself. I'm using an example, just because, like I made the Jordan Maxwell comment, right? Like, so when I made my Jordan Maxwell rebuttal to something Thomas Sheridan said, I knew that I was going to be taking, because I was about to stand up for a guy that he saw as having that kind of Second Temple fucking attitude, because Jordan Maxwell's study on symbolism has been around for decades and got picked up in the zeitgeist of Christians looking for esotericism. And some of them are just projecting their own moral narcissisms into what Jordan Maxwell was trying to accomplish, which was to reveal fucking Talmudic and Sumerian sorcery surrounding the fucking people of the European world, and how this all kind of infiltrated in, and how these are actual ancient pagan symbols. These are symbols from other ancient religions that weren't pagan, but they were ancient religions nonetheless. And if you haven't heard enough primer on Jordan Maxwell, you're gonna make those fucking assumptions based on who he's trying to talk to in his own goddamn American fucking audience, going back to, like, the 1980s as such. I mean, right? I mean, look at the Bach Saga. The Bach Saga came out in the mid-80s. The way, like, a way that you could imagine the land of the Paradise is not far off from United Nations fucking global fucking village agenda. And so you weave a new fucking past, right? So it's very important that the Bach Saga is not framed with any agenda. It's for you to, it's for you to meditate on and interpret over, right? You know, just like I don't read the sagas and the Eddas and say, let's go back to exactly the way Jarls, Karls, and Thralls lived in fucking society, at the beginning of the fucking Viking Age. That ain't what the fuck's up. We are here to live. We are here to have the will to live and the care to live. And to live is also to be of a generative principle. The life has to be springing forth from you. You can't just be having a heartbeat and going out and just merely, like, doing what you gotta do. You've got to do what you want to do. You came here with desires. You incarnated with desires that they may or may not have had a responsibility attributed to the desire. But the desire itself is such a joy that it in of itself is not the responsibility. It is the pure absolute fun, right? There's a lot of responsibility in putting together being a live musical performer and writer. Some of that responsibility that's associated with the pure joy of what I'm looking for is a bit of a difficulty and a drag, and it's a big reason why I haven't achieved my goals, right? And not because I don't want to do it. It's because when I do pick it up and do it, there's struggles that might be economically difficult for me. But I don't give up. It just takes, I have to be fucking patient. The Aries having patience. The audacity of me having fucking patience. Blech. So, guy's got a mop on his lap. He's got one of those fluffy dogs that's like about this big. Not even like what's that? It's like that blonde, curly kind of fur that's really thick, like a sheepdog almost. So at any rate, right? And like artists can understand that, and art is like. But you know what? Yet we also have to look at like art as like a thing that you could do for a living. There was no industry for the arts in this country until for like for a long ass time, as far as like as the highest of value. Like there's it's the entertainments of the masses, but none of it was considered necessarily of a tremendous importance. But something started to happen because of public attention to the arts, as a lot of people, probably coming from the more elite classes, or at least those artisan classes, like the Carl class, were making space for the art because we had made so much industrial progress and we had such a large population that there was more abundance in circulation for things that were artistic to be rewarded with appreciation, and to have the money there for the person who put the effort in, especially if their art took time to make, right? It's one thing to be like a punk band, 3 chords in the truth kind of art, which at the end of the day, it doesn't take very fucking long to orchestrate an entire 2-minute punk song. And it can change the fucking world and be wildly successful as this ultra simplistic thing, just the way the emotions, the sounds, the words all come together. But then it's another thing if you're fucking Opeth and you need to write Black Rose Immortal, and so you've written a song that takes up the entire 20 minutes of one side of a fucking vinyl record, and you make no fucking apologies about that. You're 5 members with 6 instruments in your band, or was it 6 members with 7? Because you got guitar, vocals is one guy, keyboards, drums, 2 guitars and a bass. That's Opeth, right? Don't get me started on fucking Slipknot. right? Slipknot's 9 motherfuckers. You know, Slipknot is 3 bands that got fucking fused together practically. This is like Slipknot breaks up, they can be 3 bands. So one of the only bands that can do that. They can just split up into 3 and still be like 3 complete fucking bands. It's hysterical. But at any rate, you know, because since 2020, the entire art scene as a whole is not just like art like in the gallery, but just the arts in general, music, performance, everything else. Everybody's completely shifted their relationship with it. Nobody's passionate about it unless it in and of itself is like incredibly deep, and there hasn't been a lot of depth in the arts. I mean, there's been a lot of thought in the arts, which is, you know, where you get all these ideological artists that are fucking taping bananas to walls and making $100,000, because it's not about the banana and the tape on the wall at the angle and the color definition of it that makes it money. It's the smugness of his ideas in that theater of ideas, which also is a cultural cover for whatever fucking money laundering operation that transaction's really about, while simultaneously trying to raise the market value of a certain aesthetic that is complete trash to everybody outside of their fucking thought bubble, right? And has no potential to mean anything to people outside of it, as opposed to the dudes that are doing this in the gutter from their heart and their soul, and then that goes out and it moves on a deeper level, bridges a better connection, and it doesn't ask for your vanity. It doesn't ask for you to be shallow. It may not necessarily be asking you to love yourself. It might be asking you to be selfless in a different way. Or maybe it's telling you it's time to practice self-love. Or something like that, right? But we're seeing these kinds of overall themes are largely not there in the promotional like scape of things. I mean, I have a feeling things are changing just because so much of the population that's inspired to do anything at all is doing their own things. Some of it is completely alien to any kind of progression in my thoughts about the world, going in a certain direction. From my perspective at that time and my generation. But it's overall good, right? Because of how I'm hoping, seeing, and imagining that people want to go, and have at least found something for them to find and know themselves. And not be so easily influenced, led, exploited by the others that, you know, you're probably still going to have plenty of people that are going to be like that, because, you know, it makes more sense to them to have been a part of a social group forever, right? And as good of a quality as it is to be a part of a social group for a good amount of time, because you were able to be yourself around them always, and shit like that, I grew up a little bit more self-sabotaging, to the point where it's completely changed any relationships, individually or collectively, that I hold. Because I've been through it too many effing times, you know, and just realized, you know, whatever. I guess I've just been a little bit childlike and naive, I suppose. So anyway, I'm gonna hop off here because I just need to double check on which direction I am going, because I haven't been down this way in a hot minute. So I have gone here a couple of times before, but I've said all I need to really say. So I'll catch you guys later. I might do this again. Not sure. Alright, peace.